Welcome into another edition of the second half draft show brought to you by Couch Potato General Manager. I'm your host, Juice, joined by Headley and Drew. If you're new to the program, guys, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to have you. If you're coming back, welcome back. Once again, hit that like button, comment, ride with us through this live broadcast here, the second half draft show. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2023 draft prospects performances, you know, particular performances in week 7. Then we're going to turn our attention to week 8. But before we get into it a little bit, just a little housekeeping. I wanted to give this tease out there. We do have a website, that's couchpotatogm.com, and we have a very, very special feature that's being developed right now. A very special feature. Again, our emphasis here on the channel is the draft. And of course, this show is dedicated to the 2023 NFL draft, getting you prepared throughout the season, all the way through draft season, the off season, leading up to the draft. And then, of course, we're going to analyze how the teams did during the draft, right? We have a mock draft simulator that we're developing.
Right? You told him, bro?
Yeah.
Okay. Cat out the bag.
Let the cat out the bag. Bro. You know, we're going to start. We really want people to be aware of the feature that we're offering. We hope to differentiate ourselves because, of course, there are a lot of mock draft simulators out there. But you'll see more and hear more about this in the coming months. And then certainly when the season comes to an end, we'll be heavy into the mock drafts, whether it be all 32 or specific teams, head-to-head mock drafts, so on and so forth. So just wanted to share that with our audience. That being said, let's get into our prospects in review for week 7. And we're going to start with the Penn State at Michigan matchup. And I'll start with you, Drew. Your overarching thoughts, impressions on the game. And then, of course, let's get more granular and focus on some of those 2023 draft prospects and how they did.
Yeah. Penn State actually held up well defensively early. And then when Michigan came out in the second half, it was pretty much over, man. They were able to run the ball at will. And it got ugly, and it got ugly fast. Penn State's offense is as when I think about Penn State, and I think about Iowa. I gotta say it right. There's always something lacking within the offense for those football teams. It's usually the quarterback position. I don't know if that was the case this past Saturday.
Yeah, it's been the same quarterback forever.
I mean. You might be right. I mean, he's a little bit more athletic than I think the guys they've had maybe in the past.
Sure, but he's been there for he's
been there for a minute,
6 years or something like that, man. He's been a starter.
I think that's where Will Levis came from, by the way, too. Imagine what they would look like if they had Will Levis. That'd be a little bit different. This game might have went a little bit different, but anyways, they couldn't really do anything, man. I mean, it wasn't a fun watch, man. At some point, I figured Michigan was going to pull away, and that's exactly what happened. But when you talk about some of the when we get down into the nitty gritty in terms of the granular players, Joey Porter was as advertised. Not that he had to do a whole lot.
Wasn't really tested. Yeah,
he wasn't really tested. Not that I thought he would be, but he was who we think he is, which is one of the top corners, if not the top corner in the country. The left tackle for Penn State. I can't say. I'm gonna call him Alu. I'm sorry.
Fashanu.
Left tackle. I thought he played well. One of the issues I had with him, though, I thought he played well, but I always got to pick at him. I always got to pick at a guy. Is that he had late hands at times, and he would give up his outside, which is weird to me. But I guess you'd rather give up the outside than the inside because it's a quicker path to the quarterback. And it was usually on secondary moves. And then another guy who I think he played well early, but maybe he was part of the reason why they fell off late, which was PJ Mustipher. I think that's how you say it, or Mustipher, the defensive tackle for Penn State. I think he was one of the impact players, the key players for the game on the defense. And like early on, he was good, but there just wasn't much penetration from him. And maybe I need to watch more of his tape because I was expecting more, and I didn't see that. The best that I saw from him was he was able to, at the snap, use his hands, swim and shed the blocker in front of him and attempt to make a play or make the play. But I just thought there was going to be more power, more push from him, and there really wasn't. A little disappointing, man. A little bit disappointed. I thought he would have been a guy that would have affected the game much more than he did. But I guess if you keep putting the defense on the field, maybe he just got tired.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think they wore down ultimately. You know what I mean? They weren't able to, that being Penn State, weren't able to sustain drives on a consistent basis, move the football, string some first down together, even play a little field position. They weren't really capable of doing that. And ultimately in the second half, for lack of a better term, the levees broke. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Blake Corum and company, they were able to gash.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. I thought one team was able to run the football and the other team wasn't. Michigan, they controlled the line of scrimmage. They controlled the clock. There was two backs out there. It was Blake Corum and Edwards. Edwards is not draft eligible, but Blake Corum, man, they had those two big runs in the third quarter, broke the game open. And Corum, he's just a workhorse. He's short, but he's not small. He's 200 pounds. He's very compact. He hits the hole hard, and when he gets to open field, and he's out of there, and the contact balance he plays with, the strength he plays with, man. So he just bounced off the hits at times. So his stock is rising. I think we're going to speak about him a little later on the list, but his stock is definitely rising. And Olu Fashanu, just big, powerful in the run game, and his base and anchor held up. I wanted to see him against those Michigan pass rushers, and he held up, man. He's a powerful guy. He can move. He's young. I think he's like maybe 19 or something. He's very young right now, very raw, but he has a lot of talent.
Speaking of Blake Corum, he's really the engine to that offense. They've gotten some competent play out of JJ. I believe it's JJ McCarthy, the starting quarterback there. But certainly Corum has been the engine. Of course, he shared the backfield with Hassan Haskins last season. Was kind of the lightning to Haskins' thunder. But Corum's been the man. He's been the bell cow, and they're not shying away in terms of the load he's carrying. We haven't seen it in recent years. Particularly at the advent of the spread. You know what I mean? With the video game numbers quarterbacks are putting up, and the fact that more and more quarterbacks are also primary ball carriers. But I wonder, considering how Michigan is ranked, how high they are ranked, some of the later season competition that they're going to face. The fact that it is the offense goes through him. Is he a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate in your eyes, Headley?
If you take out the quarterbacks, he's definitely on that list. Because you got it always starts with the quarterbacks. You got Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, CJ Stroud, but you take out the quarterbacks, yeah, he's in the list as a candidate.
I think ultimately, unless something goes crazy, something goes haywire, somebody comes out on this, the second half of the season and just completely blows it up, I think he'll be there. I think he might get a vote or two, but I think he'll be among the players invited to the ceremony. I don't necessarily believe that he'll do enough to overcome the quarterbacks, to your point, but certainly I think he should be part of the conversation. He definitely deserves an invite. What about you, Drew? What do you think about the likelihood that Corum is a Heisman Trophy winner?
Yeah, the Heisman at this point is about putting up numbers, and he's doing it every week. So why not? I mean, if they go out there and they dominate against Ohio State, and CJ Stroud has a bad game, he may jump right over him. You know what I'm saying? There's still Bryce Young sitting there, but and a Hendon Hooker probably. But it's a possibility, man.
Yeah. With that being said, who's the front runner as you see it?
It's not a popular answer, but for me, it's Hendon Hooker.
Yeah,
it's Hendon Hooker. What he's able to be doing. I know Bryce Young is a guy. He had the talent. Stroud's the talent. They're the top prospects in this class. But who's been catapulting their team? We call him the Terminator, man. So Hendon Hooker
keeps coming
at the top of that list.
He just keeps coming.
I'm gonna give it to Bryce Young, but I think Hendon. If everybody stays kind of where they are, I think Hendon Hooker will probably get it because it's a new Heisman guy, kind of came out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? You want to give him that love and all that. So
there could be some Bryce Young fatigue.
Yeah,
what I mean. Not to mention Tennessee wins the head-to-head matchup.
Yep.
The SEC championship might suggest something different, but certainly I would agree with you. As of right now, Hendon Hooker probably is the leading vote getter at this juncture. Just keeping the likes of Bryce Young at bay. Let's move on, and we touched on that game. We spoke about Hendon Hooker.
Game of the week.
Young. This is the game of the week.
Yeah.
It was
game of the year.
Hopefully we get to see some more of this. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of, Georgia's still lingering out there. So hopefully we get to see some Titan level type matchups throughout the remainder of the season. But Alabama goes to Tennessee. I think this is Tennessee's first win in this matchup in 16 years or so, something like that. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while, but we all had a feeling that this Tennessee team could do it. Alabama has some concerns. The receiving core, although Bryce Young has an innate ability to elevate the talent around him, there were questions and marks about Bama's receiving core, whether or not they would be able to consistently challenge. Of course, Bama put up points, but Tennessee, the Terminator, Hendon Hooker, and company, they were able to keep the pressure on Bama and ultimately win. I mean, just think about how they won it at the end there. You know what I mean? We're talking about a dozen seconds or so, and they push the football down the field, and Hooker makes an excellent throw down the field, get themselves in position to ultimately win this game. So I'll start with you, Headley. Your thoughts on the game overall, and then let's talk about some of the prospects, the NFL draft prospects they're in.
Yeah, I thought it was a high-powered offensive game. Defense made some plays here and there, but I think the point of the game when Tennessee kept on putting those two receivers stacked on the outside and taking advantage of Alabama safeties, particular Helms, number 2. I thought he had a bad game. What's his name? Jalen Hyatt, 5 TDs, 6 catches. There's so much prospects in this game that came out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but weren't hyped up. Jalen Hyatt is one of them. And CJ Tillman injury, leads him as leading receiver now for Tennessee. And Hendon Hooker is finding him. He's using his speed, fast guy. Another guy that kind of catapulted his way up is Darnell Wright, the right tackle from Tennessee. This neutralized Will Anderson. I haven't seen it yet. I know Will Anderson didn't have any big games, but he usually impacts the game somehow. And Darnell Wright was the power. He's a mauler. He's hard to get around, hard to get through. And it's just something to watch with both with Will Anderson. Like when you go against bigger, strong men, are you able to impact the game playing a smaller guy or a quicker guy where he can just overpower them? So I think that's something to watch with Will Anderson. And then Darnell Wright, I got to see him against more speed. BJ Ojulari or something. It's got to watch more tape of him, but he definitely looks good. He definitely looks like a riser in that game. Also, Jeremy Banks. I need to talk about Jeremy Banks because when watching Jeremy Banks, the linebacker from Tennessee, number 33, he's my new draft crush. He looks just like Trenton Simpson to me. Mm-hmm. He just I saw him line up on the edge. He just comes like a ball of fire. He's hard to contain. The only thing I didn't get was why he was off the field so much. A guy that's impacting the game that much, I like to see him on the field more. But linebacker, the top 5 linebackers being shaken up on my rankings because of Jeremy Banks.
Yeah, when you talk about Will Anderson and Darnell Wright, I think a lot of that. I don't want to take nothing away from Darnell Wright because he played very well, but a lot of that had to do with Hendon Hooker and his ability to maneuver in the pocket and get the ball down the field. I mean, Bama kind of made it easy. They really, I don't know if they didn't figure it out, if they were just like, we're gonna do what we do and we're just gonna live by the sword, die by the sword, or what the situation was in terms of trying to adjust, because they really didn't adjust. They were just kind of like, all right, I mean, this is what it is. And maybe just the safeties weren't listening in terms of what they needed from them. But yeah, that game was wild. And like you said, there was a ton of prospects. I mean, I could pull up the depth charts and just run through like 20 players, man. I mean, it's really ridiculous, but I enjoyed that game. I mean, how about your boy Gibbs, man? We call him.
He the real deal.
Are we calling him Pokey, or are we going to Gumby or Gumby 2, or what do we? Anybody don't know who Pokey is? Look up Gumby. He's the red horse. Just want to throw that out there. Yeah, I just. Should we run through the roster, bro? Do we need to do that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's necessary. But your point is well taken, Drew. You know what I mean? Obviously, on both sides of the field here in this particular matchup, you have a ton of talent. I think we've hit most of the names, most of the guys that, with respect to this game, made an impact or perhaps hurt themselves a little bit.
I want to talk about Helms. Oh, my bad. I thought you
straight, bro. Go ahead.
Now, I want to talk about one more matchup in this game. Tyler Steen versus Byron Young.
Byron Young.
The edge there. And I thought Steen did well. I thought he had a good push in the run game. He had athleticism to take Young out the game. He moves well in space. He's not the strongest. I want to see get him stronger in his base, but he's able to block. He's able to move, and I thought he held up well against Byron Young.
Real quick, too, before you go, real quick. And I said this last week, and he did it again in terms of Hendon Hooker and his ability to the killer instinct in terms of it's the end of the half. It's the end of the quarter, end of the half, end of the quarter. I'm trying to get down the field. We need points, whether we end up kicking a field goal or scoring a touchdown. What do you have? 15 seconds left when he got the ball back after Bama missed the field goal. I said, we're going to go down here and get these points. I know we kind of threw not a Hail Mary, but a hope and a prayer up a little bit. It got caught. And he just has that you want from that position. That's important and that's special. And he has it, man. And I think we need to start talking about him as top 3 quarterback from here on out, man.
You know, we alluded to that a week ago. We alluded to that a week ago. Depending on the way he acquits himself in this particular matchup against, you know, a conference foe that they have struggled for almost 2 decades with,
Sure.
How would he acquit himself? And if he played well in a win or a loss, he probably need to be considered QB3 because he would have had to played well in order to win this particular game, which he did, he absolutely did. You know, there's going to be a lot of conversation around Hendon Hooker. We talked about him perhaps being the front runner for Heisman. You know, the transition from Virginia Tech to Tennessee and Josh Heupel getting a hold of him. You know, Hendon Hooker, you know, there were some flashes, but he didn't perform particularly well at Virginia Tech. And of course, Virginia Tech has its issues from a you know, a macro perspective. The entire team, the program itself has taken a bit of a nosedive over the years, particularly, you know, since they've gotten away from Bud Foster and Frank Beamer and so on and so forth. But, you know, the transfer to Tennessee, and then he played really well a season ago. Played really well. You know what I mean? I think he gets himself drafted because of the way he played last year. Now he comes back, you know, age notwithstanding, and he's making himself a lot of money. And I think teams at the NFL level, the scouts, they need to take him very seriously. Now, we can talk about, you know, schematic limitations and things of that nature. You know, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to pick him apart. But I don't know that there's a quarterback. Well, there's one guy. I don't know that there are 2 quarterbacks playing at a higher level than Hendon Hooker. The other guy happens to be in this game. The one guy that I may still give the edge to in terms of how they're playing. I'm not talking about in terms of how I rank the prospects, but in terms of how they're playing is Bryce Young, man. Bryce Young is incredible. Like he won the Heisman last year, right? Of course, they came up a little short in the national championship, but ultimately, I say a little bit, but you know, substantially, all things considered. But my point is that he takes his team to a national championship. He wins the Heisman. What does he come back and do for an encore? You know what I mean? With fewer weapons, losing a lot of talent to the league. You know, they're being moving parts. He's battling injury himself. He comes into this game, and it's just, you know, I use the old Stuart Scott term. You know, of course, this is a much older term, but Stuart Scott used to say it all the time. You know, cooler than the other side of the pillow. You know what I mean? It's like nothing phases this guy. Ice water in his veins. We talked about it. I want to give the coach or whomever, the scout, whomever said it, credit, because I think it's a very apt description. He has the right nervous system for it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? No moment is too big. He just, I think the game just moves slower. We're watching it full speed, and the game is probably moving 3/4 speed for him. You know what I mean? His ability to not just extend plays, but just the feel, the innate feel for it. You know what I mean? It's not a helter-skelter. Let me reverse feel. It's just, it all seems to make sense, and it almost comes easy, to your point, Drew. So I want to give Bryce Young, even in a loss, Bryce Young looked phenomenal. He looks amazing. You know what I mean? So I think for us collectively, I'll speak for myself, but I do believe for us collectively, Bryce Young is the guy. I'd be hard pressed to come off of Bryce Young as QB1.
No, he's been doing it since day one. When they played Miami last year in the was that Jerry? Was that Jerry's World? I forget where they was playing, or
that may have been in
Georgia
the
Dome,
Falcons,
maybe
the Georgia Dome. I think that was in the Georgia Dome.
Okay, yeah, he came into that game, man. It's just like same thing, like you were saying. It don't phase him. He's been the same guy since. He's only gotten better.
Yeah, it's gotten better.
With worse weapons. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
he's playing at a higher level this season. Playing at a higher level.
that ability to be able to square up and throw the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it, bro. Like
every time
running around back there and then just square up, throw it on a dime, perfect.
But that's exactly
crazy.
what you want.
That is
right?
what you want.
I don't know that there are very few quarterbacks who are capable of that. I mean, I haven't seen it on a consistent basis out of anyone.
Right.
But that's what you want. You don't want guys throwing off platform, off balance. Now there are guys who are capable of it. You know what I'm saying? You have these guys with this otherworldly arm strength and arm talent, and they can do that. But the fact that he's able to extend the play and then finds a way to get mechanically sound before he delivers the football makes a ton of difference. It makes a ton of difference. So yeah, he's really impressive. And like I said, even in this loss, like it was just like, damn. I mean, if they don't have Bryce Young, they get boat raced.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that. Was wrong with that game easily, bro.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the Big 12. We have Oklahoma State at TCU. We've talked about TCU quite a bit. We've touched on Oklahoma State, but we've talked about TCU quite a bit. There are a couple of prospects, Quentin Johnson, Thomas in the corner that we've discussed. I think we'll go back to the well here, but let's talk a little bit about what you guys saw in this contest, and let's start with Oklahoma State, their prospects.
Yeah, we can start with Jabari Muhammad, number 7. He was going against, and he was matched up against Quentin Johnston for a good portion of the game. And last week I was talking about how he's a cover 3 corner. He showed me something this week in terms of his man-to-man coverage ability down the field. He's able to make a couple of plays. He got beat a couple of times, but I expect that at the cornerback position when you're going against, guys of above your ability or just at your ability. It's going to happen. It is what it is. It's an offensive league in football, period. But he played well, high points the ball, and moment of truth is not too big for him, man. What else I got here? And I don't know if I want to talk about him. I'll take a stab. I'll take a stab at him. Jason Taylor II, safety for Oklahoma State, number 25. He's a player that kind of just shows up, man. He makes plays all over that football field, and he made a couple of plays in the game that I thought were big. One of the plays, if I'm not mistaken, it was Quentin Johnson at the goal line. I think it was in the slot, came down, knocked the ball out of his hands. That should have been a touchdown, clean, bro. He went right for the ball. He made another play. Like, he just finds the football. It's almost – I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna say it.
Hit the comp. Yes.
No, I'm not gonna hit the comp. He just finds the ball.
I was scared you were gonna say it.
I'm not gonna say it. He just finds the ball, man, and he might be a guy to continue to watch for that Oklahoma State defense.
Yeah, another guy I have here on the Oklahoma State defense, Tyler Lacey, the edge rusher, the edge that with the wide receiver number 89. He got the wide receiver number, man. Yeah, but he just very physical on the edge in the run game. The type of guy that will play slide inside on pass downs, because that's when you see his juice. On the edge, not really, got the juice to get to the quarterback as much, but he plays physical. But when he slides inside, he beats the interior offensive lineman, battles through contact and gets to the quarterback. So, one of those guys, we've seen it with Michael Bennett in the past, outside, inside type pass rusher.
So where do you see him at the next level, Headley? Do you think he's a 4-3 edge that you move inside on obvious passing downs? Yeah. Is he a 5 tech? What is he to you?
To me, he's a 4-3 edge, move inside on pass rush. That's what he is to me. Gotcha. He had 7 tackles and a sack in this one. And then TCU, it's like you said, usual suspects: Quentin Johnson, Tre'Davious Hodges-Tomlinson. Quentin Thompson doing it again, man. Another big game.
Yeah, I want to make sure I don't butcher his name. I'm gonna call him Hodges Tomlinson. We talked about it off air. I don't know if you said it on there, but he be out there making business decisions. If he's clean and free to come up and make a tackle, he's gonna make the tackle. He probably blow the play up. But if there's a receiver out there and they out there playing patty cake, he gonna wait till the ball carrier pass him, and then he'll go and try to make the tackle or make the tackle.
Throw a chicken wing out there.
Yeah, throw a chicken wing out there. It's okay. But in terms of his coverage skills, I mean, he was doing his thing out there.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to NC State at Syracuse. Of course, Sean Tucker is big headliner here. We didn't get a chance to see your boy Devin Leary. I believe he's done for the season. Sorry about that, Drew. Headley, there's a guy that plays for Syracuse, getting a lot of attention, a lot of buzz around him, but you're not necessarily the biggest of fans, and that's Mikael Jones, a linebacker from Syracuse. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts regarding him.
I'll start with a positive. He's athletic in coverage. He can blitz in the A and B gaps. He moves around real easy. You know, he could get to anywhere on the football field. I guess my concern, my issue, what I want to see more of with Mikael Jones is the dog. You know, if you guys don't know what the dog is, it's just you keep coming. You just the effort. You know, stop avoiding contact. You know, hustle to the plate, in and out. Like it just seems like he's being a little too nice out there. Sometimes when you're too nice and you think you're too nice, you're not going to get to certain plays because you don't have that dog. So I just want to see more from him in that aspect.
Is it a business decision? Does it strike you that way?
It's not even a business decision to me. It's just I don't know. It's just I don't know if you want to hit. Do you want to hit?
You watch him like get there, it's there, and just like he just don't get there.
You got the athletic ability, you got the ability to do it, but it's like I don't know. Is it I don't usually look at linebackers about business.
No, of course not. No, of course not. But you know, I mean, and Syracuse obviously is a ranked team. They're fairly ranked fairly high. Yeah. You know, you would expect, you know, this is not an opportunity that you're going to get oftentimes at Syracuse. You know what I mean? At least that's what we would anticipate. So why aren't you playing with your hair on fire? Why aren't you, you know what I'm saying, flying to the football with bad intentions? You know, something definitely to monitor. I mentioned Sean Tucker and how effective he is at the running back position. I know he's among your top 5. There has to be a reason, though. All right, running backs generally do not have success independently. Of course, there are guys who can create more than what's actually there. But typically, you need a push. You need a push from up front. You need those guys, the front 5, to do work. Anyone along that offensive line that is of particular note?
Yeah, Matthew Bergeron, and if I butchered his name, I apologize. Y'all know I'm not good with names, but that man was super aggressive out there, almost to the point where it was a downfall for him, man. Like, hey, man, I need you to relax. You out here lunging now. You got your shoulders over your toes. So I think we need to reel that back. But when he got his hands on you, he was driving you, he's pushing you back. Whether he was down blocking or whether he was pulling and going after the guy in front of him. I mean, he was out there doing work. Loved his hands. When his hands and feet matched, I mean, he was driving folks back. So, and to speak about Sean Tucker, Chase Tucker, real quick. No, Sean Tucker.
Sean Tucker. Yeah. Chase Brown. I think you confused.
See, they both wear orange, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They both wear orange. Yeah, man. I said this on Twitter, man. Watching him, I gotta hit the rewind or the run. I gotta run the playback because it's so smooth and it's so easy, but it's so fast. No loss of speed. Super elusive, bruh. That dude fun to watch, man.
Yeah. He takes advantage of small creases. He takes advantage of those.
He does.
He's like, it's really small, and he just takes advantage of it. He's like a burst through a cannon, and he's in the open field.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to the SEC. At least in part, we have Arkansas versus BYU. Of course, Drew's guy, Jaren Hall, KJ Jefferson's back. He acquits himself very well. I love what we've seen from KJ Jefferson for the most part. I believe he got re-injured in this game. I'm not sure exactly how substantial that is, but Jefferson played really well. Drew, your thoughts on Hall, though? I don't know that he necessarily got the help that he needed. Of course, we have the Blake Freelands of the world, his counterpart there on the left side of that offensive line, Clark Barrington. And then, of course, Headley, I'm going to throw it to you to talk about your guy, Drew Sanders. So, Drew, give me the details. Give me your thoughts on the BYU prospects, and Headley, talk about Arkansas's prospects for me.
Yeah, the BYU prospects. I thought the 2 linemen, real quick before I get to Jaren Hall, Clark Barrington and Blake Freeland. I thought they played well in the game. They kept Jaren Hall that side of the line kept him upright. But boy, them receivers, them tight ends, no separation. Here's the crazy part is I think it was 4 or 5 players in the secondary for Arkansas were not playing. And they boys was getting no separation. It got to the point where they had to start running man beaters. I mean, damn, what was y'all doing out there? They was putting a Puka in the backfield. I think that's just something they normally do, but it looked like they were doing it more often than not to try to get him free and open and get him the football. Jaron Hall, I think he's still hurt. But I thought he played, he played well for what they were giving him. And I know he's a guy that puts the ball where you want it to be in terms of ball placement, but damn, can we get some separation? I mean, to me, watching that game, they had an opportunity to win it. You know what I'm saying? But turn the football over, and I think there is something to watch in terms of the quarterback center exchange, because I've seen a couple, not just this game, a couple of games where, somebody laying it down. I don't know if it's the center. I don't know if it's Jaron Hall in terms of getting the ball, trying to get back.
So let me ask a question.
You don't talk about somebody's hands, bro.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
Making sure.
Are we talking about quarterback center exchange under center?
Under center. Oh yeah. This is under center.
They just don't do it enough.
Yeah. No, BYU does it enough where it shouldn't be an issue, bro.
I hear you. I hear you. They do it more than most, right?
Yeah.
But you see it at every level of football. Yeah. It's so rare these days that they just struggle to do it. And then particularly when you have teams who do it maybe once or twice a month, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, they're in the pistol or the shotgun. Yeah, there's going to definitely be a center quarterback snap exchange issue. It's like anything else. You have to practice it. You know what I mean? And like I said, we could get in. This is a whole different subject. I don't want to bog the live down, but certainly, the principles associated with playing from under center, the historic formations that come out from playing under center, the fact that you can open up your offense because you're playing under center, it's all lost. It's very much lost.
Ask Nick Saban.
Yeah.
As far as Arkansas, I thought KJ Jefferson, like you mentioned earlier, he had a big game. I think he had some kind of record. Did he passing yards record or something like that?
Yeah. He had a bunch of touchdowns.
Crazy, but he was money on third downs. He went 12 for 15 on third downs, and he just kept drives alive. And that's ultimately why Arkansas won the game. Also, along the Arkansas defensive line, I thought that the front seven, Arkansas's front seven, I thought they controlled the game in the first half. BYU couldn't really run the football. Didn't really see Freeland out there doing what he did last
driving
week,
folks,
bullying guys out there. Yeah, they didn't really see it against Arkansas. But and Drew Sanders is a part of that front seven. He rushes the quarterback. He plays off ball. He's just a disruptor all over the football field. So, I thought Arkansas defense, the front four, I know they didn't have their back four, back five, but up front, I thought they held up well against BYU. And last thing I want to say was about Jaron Hall is it's a guy, I always compare him to Zach Wilson. I like him more than Zach Wilson because of his ability to not make those turnover-worthy throws, turnover-worthy plays. But the last couple of games, he has a couple turnovers now. So I'm just watching him. Hopefully he don't go full Zach Wilson on us.
Come on, bro.
I think he's a better prospect. That's all I'm saying. I think he's a better prospect. Right. Just watching the turnovers. That's all, man.
I wonder. I'm not letting you get back in there on Jaron Hall, Drew. I'm not.
No, it wasn't Jaron Hall. It wasn't Jaron Hall.
Not letting you get back in there.
This is Drew Sanders. This is Drew Sanders.
Okay. I'll let you get into Drew Sanders. But before you get to Drew Sanders, I'll say this about Jaron Hall, so Drew doesn't have to.
Thank you.
I think he's trying to do too much. I think he's trying to overcompensate because of the supporting cast. Drew mentioned it. We don't have any starters in our secondary in Arkansas, and y'all can't create any separation. You know what I mean? We can't get a layup anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Particularly with a guy who's generally very accurate. I think he's pressing. I think over the last couple of weeks, Jaron Hall's been pressing, and he needs to display within himself, which means they may have to punt. They may have to play a little field position. It may not necessarily lead to a ton of efficiency offensively, but you certainly don't want to turn the football over. Go ahead, Drew.
And real quick, I'm just going to piggyback off of that real quick. I think part of their defense is their offense to score points. You know what I'm saying? So they can play the style of defense that they want to play because they ain't the biggest up front. So them boys can get bullied. You know what I mean? So, and that was part of this game as well. Just real quick, Drew Sanders is the number 1 inside linebacker prospect for Mel Kiper. So I just want to put that out there. Respect.
Mel been watching this tape.
Mel watching the tape, man. Tapes don't lie. Let's go out west. Let's talk a little bit about Arizona at Washington. Just a handful of prospects here to touch on. Drew, I'll let you talk about your gush. I'll let you gush about your guy, Jacob, and then Helly tackle the Husky prospects for us.
Michael Penix Jr. It was just good to see him get back in the rhythm. School record 516 passing yards. I think a school record 527 total yards. It just the deep ball is back. It's back for Washington. He lost it a couple of weeks, but he's finding Polk. He's finding those other receivers out there. So continue to watch. He moved his way up the board, came down a little bit, but had a good game again against Arizona. And ZTF got a sack out there. Braylon Trice, another edge rusher for Washington. Those are the prospects I was watching for the Huskies.
Andrew Garraway, I want to make sure I said that right. Let me know if I did not say that right. Is that supposed to be the U? Is that what that is?
I'm gonna take it.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? I'll throw it up too.
Listen, I'm Josh Downs today. Y'all see what Josh Downs did?
Man,
I just want
look
to
at this guy,
leave it there.
bro.
That's a receiver.
Listen, bro, we had a win.
North Carolina.
We had a win. We beat Virginia Tech. It was ugly, but we beat Virginia Tech. So get out of here with that nonsense,
right.
man.
Anyways, Cowing didn't. I mean, he did his thing. He was who he is, man. Just get him the ball, let him make moves in space. And real quick for Penix, bro, that was flag football, bro. No pressure.
Yeah,
he was just back there, just chilling, bro.
A little 7-on-7.
That's all it was. That's all it was. And in terms of the Husky prospects, number 8, number 58, and number 3.
You're supposed to be talking about Jacob Cowing.
No, I'm done with Jacob Cowing. No, I'm done with Jacob Cowing.
You said the Husky prospect.
The Huskies prospect.
No.
You mean the Wildcats?
No. I said
that's what you said. No, that's what you said, though.
No, listen.
We can check the tape. We live, bro.
Let's check. We got to check the tape. Mark it. I said Cowing did his thing.
Okay.
Now we're going to talk about the Huskies prospects.
But you're not supposed to be talking about the Huskies prospects.
We're done. Who else we talking about? Cowing did his thing.
We were talking about Jacob Cowing. You were supposed to talk about Jacob Cowing.
He is a Huskies prospect. That's what you're trying to say.
No, that's not what. Stop. Stop what I'm saying. Jacob Cowing, the slot receiver, the best slot receiver in the country, did his thing. He probably should have did more than his thing, but the Husky prospects, number 58, number 8, and number 7, ZTF, Jeremiah Martin. I can't think of who number 8 is, but that's Headley's guy. They actually put all those guys on the field at this. Who's it? What's his name?
Braylon Trice. Put them all on the field at the same time. I think they were kind of running because that's something they normally do. It's either one of those guys are usually off the field, and I think they just said, we're going to put our best pass rushers on the field. It worked because the quarterback was running for his life all game. Matter of fact, Jeremiah Martin, that dude was all over the place. And I don't know if he got any sacks. I can't recall any, but it was plenty of hurries, plenty of hits on the quarterback, made some plays in the backfield in terms of the run game. So that is a guy to watch. And then in terms of 3 guys, I just want to name real quick because I think they're all seniors. Kirkland Jackson, the left guard, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was a tackle and they moved him inside. Yeah,
and he's been hurt.
Inside. Jackson Kirkland.
Yeah, they moved him inside. You have Henry. I don't even Benevalu. We'll go with it.
Yeah.
And let me see here. I'm missing a guy. I just can't read. Corey Luciano or Lucin. I'm not sure.
Luciano.
It's essentially the interior of their offensive line. I was watching all 3. I thought the right guard Henry. I thought he struggled. I thought he struggled with secondary moves. Initially he would make contact, be able to hold on, and then a half a second later it was the guy was able to get past him. Jackson Kirkland, I thought he played very well. Got to work on that grip strength, but I thought he played well. I thought the center was nice, and I think he ended up getting hurt, if I'm not mistaken. He had to come out, or I don't know if they were doing like they were just trying to get people work, because he was kind of in and out of the lineup. But I thought the center looked very good. He moved well. The centers, you want those guys to, be able to move, and he was able to move, get to the second level. He was able to pull, do the different things that you want from the center. So those are guys to watch.
Bro, This is the reason why I got to cut Drew's mic.
Why, I've been talking too much?
You know what I mean?
Bro,
I told you to talk about Jacob Cowling. And you went into a full-blown analysis on the Huskies.
He had to get it out.
You could have saved that for the website. You could have saved that for
but there's more coming with those guys because I got more to watch, bro. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Drew has you covered on your Huskies as far as draft prospects. Let's talk about LSU and Florida. And this time,
we don't
Drew,
talk about it.
No, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about your Gators. All right, Drew, tell us about the Gators. Headley, give me your thoughts on the Tigers.
Okay. The Gators. I mean, Anthony Richardson. First pass of the game was a touchdown. Beautiful. Threw it between the hashes to Justin Shorter, who I think laid down in this game, not using his big body, got bodied with like around the 10-yard line. But Anthony Richardson, this might have been his best game across the board. He's got some good games where he's done very well with the run, but he hasn't really had a good passing game. Actually, I'll take that back. He had a good game against Tennessee. It's coming. It's coming. He's not there because, again, I'm going to keep talking about it. He does not throw to his left. I don't know if that's a design by the offense that they run. I don't believe that to be the case because I can't believe an offensive coordinator would build an entire offense to run to the right side of the field. That's terrible if that's the case. But he just, and I don't think that it is the case because there's where he'll get the snap, look to his left for about a half a second, and he's back to the right, center to the right, quickly. So that's something I need you to throw to the left. I know what he does to the left very well though. He runs a lot, runs very well to the left, but he just doesn't throw to the left, man. So that's something I'm gonna continue to key on in this football game. Osiris Torrance, he didn't play, he was injured. I think he had a lower body injury. Ventrell Miller. Y'all know I like him. There's something just trying to get to the sideline sometimes. It's just like
laboring, huh?
Not laboring. Not laboring. He just misses. And then there's times where he get there like it's no problem. So I'm not sure what it is, man. I'm gonna keep watching him to see. But if he's coming downhill, stack, shed, tackle.
Oh yeah.
When he is not on the field, bro. I was telling I texted my I said, "Hey, number 6, this dude be out of position." And number 6 replaces Ventrell Miller every time, bro. And it's a big run every time. Just out of and he's a freshman, so I get it. Learning the position and all that, learning the scheme and all that. But yeah, man. I mean, that's all I had for the Gators at the moment. I mean, we could talk about Ricky Parcell, but he don't get enough catches, man. But I think he's going to be a guy that I think he might end up being a steal in the draft, just because it's one of those things where he's just not getting the
production isn't necessarily there.
Yeah, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
I'm gonna attack the Gators. Before I do that, is Ventrell Miller still linebacker 1? Because I know you said that before. Now you have a little reservation.
Yeah, I got to give it to Drew Sanders right now. Inside linebacker, I got to give it to Drew Sanders. Yeah.
All right.
That's what you're doing.
Attack because no, I'm attacking some more.
No, he said it's the first attack.
Yeah, Ventrell was a linebacker 1.
Oh, Brent Cox ball too, by the way. Brent Cox ball, by the way. Yeah,
Brent Cox did his thing, but the defense, he couldn't have balled that bad because after this game, I thought Jaden Daniels. I'm like, this guy's a Heisman candidate. He had 6 total TDs. I'm saying that in jest. He's not really a Heisman, but against the Gators, he was though. You know, had 6 total TDs. Von Boutte came alive against the Gators.
He did come alive.
So the Gators defense, they had 6 touchdowns in their first 6 possessions. So the Gators couldn't stop them. It was bad from the beginning, and it's strange. It's strange. The Gators have prospects. You mentioned Brenton Cox. You mentioned Ventrell Miller. There's some guys in the secondary. I don't know if you want to mention those guys.
No, I don't. Not right now. Not with what they did this past Saturday. Absolutely not. I can name some numbers. You know when I'm giving out numbers, that means you ain't good, right? When I'm not calling your name, bro. Number 2, number 0, number 23, number 24, number 3. I mean, number 3 is supposed to be that guy, bro. They were struggling. It didn't matter the receiver, bro. Just name a number from the receiver. Number 11, number 8, number 7. I mean, it didn't matter, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, cover somebody, B. It was bad. And that's the strength of their team, by the way, outside of the front 4. Go ahead, my bad.
And if LSU defense, they just I don't think Ojulari had some hurries, but one guy that showed up to me big was Makai. Is it Baskerville? 11 tackles,
is it 33 or 23?
23, I think.
Yeah,
23, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
It's a guy to watch, man. I'm definitely gonna watch some more tape on him.
Yeah, he was flashing.
So Florida bad, LSU good. Is that what I'm gathering here? Just this past Saturday. Right? All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Clemson at Florida State. Headley, tell us about your Seminoles. Let's hear about your Noles. I know Clemson pulled away around halftime. Going into the half, early in the second half, they pulled away. But Florida State, they kept fighting. I think the coaching is getting to the Seminoles. I think they still have some issues and some things that they need to work on. But as far as the belief, as far as the fight, they certainly showed it. Clemson, obviously, they have a long list of talented, eligible prospects that we will touch on. But as far as Florida State's concerned, who should we be zeroing in on as far as NFL prospects, Headley?
Can I pull an audible? Because
I knew he was gonna do it. I knew he was gonna do it, bro. It's fine.
No. I'll let you make your point regarding Clemson. But who on the Florida State roster should we be focusing on as far as the 2023 draft is concerned?
I think the defensive side of the football is where Florida State has most of its talent. You got Jared Verse. I think that guy is working his way up to be a first-round pick, man. How he comes around the edge. When he's on the field, he just makes everything better. He disrupts the offensive line, the rhythm, the flow, everything. So I think he's our number one prospect, Jared Verse. You got the linebackers, Tatum Batoon. He keeps making a name for himself. And Jamie Robinson, the safety, is another guy. But I thought Robert Scott, the left tackle, I thought he did well against that vaunted Clemson's defensive line. They were able to run the ball. I've seen a couple big runs for Florida State.
Which leads to what you want to say about Clemson, right?
Here we go.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about the defensive line mostly. You got number 5, KJ Henry, flash, athleticism, free potential, right? Yeah. You got Brian Bryce, finally came back. I want to see more splash plays from Bryce. I'm gonna say that. But he handles it the line of scrimmage really well. I want to see him get to the quarterback a little more. Miles Murphy, another sack, continues to be a force on the edge. Then you got more guys. Tyler Davis, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago. And now number 3, Xavier Thomas on the edge. And I don't want to mess his name up. Ororo, number 33, in defensive tackle. Ororo. Yeah, it has a nice ring to it. But
a horror. Or a horror. Or a horror. Let me stop. Back up.
He was making plays. He was flashing. He was making plays. He was flashing. But I want to make a statement right now. I told y'all boys. I was teasing it in the chat. I gotta say something about the defensive line. KJ Henry, highest ceiling. I think he'd be the best NFL prospect on his defensive line.
Okay.
That doesn't. I mean, I'm gonna get on board with you. I'm on the bandwagon with you. Because he was the main. Him and Aurora Hoare. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, those two.
Those two balled this game. They kept flashing. I'm gonna say this too, though. I think Florida State's offensive line played very well in terms of when running the football, being able to block those guys up, and
they can run block. Yeah, FSU can run block.
They was doing anything. I was actually really impressed. I was like, damn, I thought Clemson would come in here and be able to handle those guys, and no, they did very well. They were able to reach my guy Trenton Simpson, and so. But real quick, you left a guy off of the defense, man. Maybe you said it, and I wasn't listening because you was talking Florida State ball. Is number 9 Derek McClendon, edge? He kept flashing for those guys. He kept disrupting plays. He was ending up in the backfield. I don't know that he got a sack, but it was plenty of hurries. I know DJ Unguugule. I'm gonna say it.
We'll ride with it. Not bad. Yeah, not bad.
He I think he's just more of the same with him, man. It's status quo with him in terms of who he is. I think he came back down to earth. I think it was last week or maybe the week before because he was the stock was headed up, and I think he's kind of leveled off. Sure. But he played well. He played well. So I think he's still heading in the right direction. It's going to be a slow climb for him in terms of him consistently or continuing to be the quarterback that we think he can be. But I thought he played well. There's another guy we could talk about, but I mean, he ain't draft eligible.
So we won't talk about it.
Okay.
Speaking of DJ,
I tried, guys.
Speaking of DJ, I think it's important to note that, Clemson's offense isn't exactly, from a scheme perspective, super quarterback friendly. Yeah. Over the years, you could see that there have been some inherent issues and challenges in terms of how they attack the opponents. There's a lot that happens at the boundary. A lot of the throws tend to be of a low percentage variety. So I think they've made some adjustments. I think they've gotten better, but I still don't believe in the coaching from an X and O perspective on the offensive side of the ball. I still have question marks there. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as you evaluate DJ. So let's move on. We have Mississippi State at Kentucky. Bounce back game for Will Levis. Of course, Chris Rodriguez, running back that we noticed last year, he's back. He certainly makes a difference. Let's talk about the prospects in this game, and then I'll let you guys decide how you want to approach this one.
Will Levis is back. He did his thing, man. That's the Will Levis that we want to consistently see from week to week, to be the head honcho, the guy that's running the show for that offense. This guy was, we know that Kentucky O-line is, I don't call it poo-poo, but it's not good. It's not what it was last year, obviously, with the prospects that they lost to the draft. And so you had guys in his face. He was able to make those throws, get those throws out. Even with the injury that he had, Will Levis is back, man. Let's just see, and hopefully we continue to see the guy that we want to see there. Chris Rodriguez, and I know Headley's probably going to point this out, so I'm not going to steal. I'm going to leave Chris Rodriguez because I think there's a link between him and Will Rogers.
Will Levis.
I
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Will Levis, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Forbes. When I be talking about guys, when I bring up new guys, they perform the following week.
You know something.
I know something, man. So y'all got to listen to me, man. Matter of fact, hit the like button since I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Emmanuel Forbes, number 13, the cornerback for Mississippi State. I mentioned him last week. He's a little lanky, long, aggressive. I think he got in a fight, and I think he got a personal foul in the game. I don't mind. Well, I'll take it. He got a pick 6 in this game. He's a guy, I heard the commentator say that he's a guy who will eliminate routes based off of, I think you should do this anyways, but I don't know that every corner does it, because sometimes you're watching games, you're like, why are you in that coverage? Why are you so far off? Right. You know what I'm saying? He'll eliminate routes based off of down and distance, which is, it sounds like 1 + 1 is 2, but
you don't see it on a consistent basis.
You don't, unfortunately.
You're absolutely right.
And Kentucky ran this slip screen 3 times, and he said, "Okay, enough is enough. I've seen what it looks like," and that was 3 times on that same drive, and he picked it off, pick 6, simple and easy, man. So you got a smart football player in Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah, he really drove on that screen pass from Levis and took that boy. So yeah, he popped out to me. But I'm gonna go with Chris Rodriguez, man. You left him for me. Yeah. 31 carries, 197 yards, 2 TDs. He the reason, man, because Will Levis and the Kentucky offense, it looked a lot better. It looked a lot crisp. Yeah, he was under center, play action. The defense didn't know what was coming. Are we running? Are we passing? It's not shotgun. Let's throw it around the field. And when you're effective on the ground like that, it just makes it a lot easier for the quarterback. Chris Rodriguez, it's another guy I'm not comparing him to, but I want to know who's the real deal, man, between Zach Charbonnet and Chris Rodriguez. I prefer Chris Rodriguez. Me too. I love his running style, the physical nature, moves piles. Charbonnet is, I think he's a little faster, a little quicker, but yeah, man, give me Chris Rodriguez as probably a day 3 steal in this class, maybe day 2. We'll see how draft evaluators look at him. Yeah,
I think it depends on how to run.
He ran like a 4.6.
Yeah.
4.6,
bro.
Testing will come into to play for the running back position. Certainly, I think it's lost on folks. Of course, Chris Rodriguez hasn't played this season prior to, but if I'm not mistaken, he was the SEC leading rusher a season ago.
Yep.
And he's bona fide. He's a bona fide player. You know what I mean? There's so much talent in the Southeastern Conference at every position, but certainly running back, it's loaded. But he was terrific last year, and you know, as we talk about Will Levis and the fact that a running game can help any quarterback, but I think that's something that we need to pay close attention to in terms of, you know, how effective Will Levis is if Chris Rodriguez can't get it going. You know what I mean? Leading up to Chris Rodriguez being in the lineup this year, it's been a little bit of helter skelter. It's been up and down. There's been peaks and valleys in Will Levis's play. You know what I mean? I'm not suggesting that we should take something away from Will Levis, but I want to see the quarterback that we're, you know, is arguably the top quarterback in the class as far as NFL scouts think, as far as when you talk about traits and so on and so forth. Can you elevate? Can you overcome certain, you know, deficiencies around you on a consistent basis? You know what I'm saying? And maybe it doesn't necessarily result in a win, but does your play drop off? Do you stabilize things? You know what I mean? Are you making, as we talked about previously, are you making winning decisions? You know, that doesn't necessarily always lead to a score, but it could lead to a punt that ultimately gives you good field position. I mean, things of that nature. So managing the game, those aspects of things, I want to continue to see him improve in that department. A couple more contests here that we're going to review, and then we're going to turn our attention to the honorable mentions. We have Stanford at Notre Dame. Isaiah Foskey is a guy that we've talked about quite a bit. Haven't necessarily seen him jump off the page. How do you do in this game?
I saw him make a play where he blew up a play in the backfield. I thought it was a fumble, but it was just essentially a shuffle pass. And he's got his move, his one move, the one arm stab, press, push back, bench press.
The long arm.
The long arm that he has. And I didn't see much of Caillou Blue Kelly in this game. I know he was out there. And Michael Mayer was, he was doing his thing. Yeah, he was doing his thing. He was doing his thing.
Yep. Jarrett Patterson?
Who? The center? Who?
Yeah.
52? Who?
Yeah. That
guy. He was out there. 55. I thought it was 52. 55? I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. Could be wrong.
Could be wrong. It's okay. He was more of the same of what we've seen in past weeks.
Okay. Fair enough. Last contest, USC at Utah. Of course, Utah gets the big upset here. Unfortunately, Jordan Addison goes down to injury. Austin Kincaid, they decided not to cover him, and he took full advantage. The way he moves, it reminds me of Kelsey. The way he moves, the way he comes out of his breaks.
Smooth?
Yeah. It's kind of effortless. It's kind of effortless with Austin Kincaid. So, one of the best receiving tight ends in the country. He had a huge game. Of course, Clark Phillips III, he's received a lot of recognition, and there's a lot of buzz around him because he keeps on getting his hands on the football. What do you think? What do you think of the prospects in this particular game on either side?
Yeah, I could start with Dalton Kincaid. Like Drew said, I mentioned Kincaid last week as being tight end too, and he went out there and balled. Hit the like button for that, man. Called it before it happened. And he, like you said, he couldn't be stopped, man. What, 16 catches? How much yards? Like ridiculous amount of yards.
Yeah, he was receiver one for those guys.
Receiver, he was the only one for those guys, man. And time after time, he just went across the middle, the route running, caught one pass across the sidelines, got his feet in. It just he was unstoppable. And yeah, I can see a little Kelsey, see a little Ertz. I see a little of all of those guys. As far as inline, he's not really inline as much as a blocker, but he does that move blocking technique. He goes to the other side of the field and gets his body and get the angle, so he can run block. But he's
not necessarily coming off the ball like that though in the running game. So no,
he'll make his money in the passing game.
Yeah, definitely. Drew.
I want to talk about Cam Rising real quick, man.
Before you get to Cam Rising, you brought a particular tweet to my attention. I will share it with the group here. Cam Rising was recruited by Lincoln Riley, and this is what Cam Rising allegedly had to say. Lincoln Riley pulled some bullshit recruiting me to OU, and I said to myself, if I ever got the chance, I was going to beat his ass. Now, of course, this is from the Salt Lick Tribune, which does not exists, but certainly was pretty funny. Cam Rising just kept coming. He just kept coming in this game, right? And of course, Utah was able to pull it out at the end. Your thoughts on Cam Rising, Drew?
Yeah, this is a guy who continues to rise to the occasion when it comes down to playing in these big games.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You're going against Caleb Williams, who is the creme de la creme of the Big 12, and Cam Rising has something to say about it, you know. And whether he's running the ball, whether he's throwing the ball, you know, he essentially had one receiver all day. He actually had two, but you know, Dalton Kincaid was the guy. But he makes things happen, man. And I don't think they necessarily ran the ball well in this game or ran it to the standard that they normally would run weekly. So he had to do his thing in terms of running the football as well as getting the ball down the field. I'm not saying that this is a guy that we're looking at in terms of, you know, being a top quarterback prospect, but there's something to be said about guys who show up week to week and rise to the occasion. No point intended.
All right, that's going to do it for our recap of last week in the FBS. Let's jump into the honorable mentions. Let's talk about some of your honorable mentions, guys that weren't necessarily in the games that we've reviewed, but certainly had standout performances or have caught your eye if you've gone through more film study. And I'll start with you, Headley.
I'm gonna leave this guy for Drew. I know you want to talk about the man with two first names or two last names.
Appreciate you.
I'm not sure what it is, but I'm gonna go with some receivers. Xavier Hutchinson, Iowa State wide receiver, long strider, easy mover. To me, everything looks the same with him with his routes. He catches the ball in tight windows. He was the engine for that almost upset against Texas. He was catching third downs after third downs, but he's also the reason why they probably lost. Had a big drop, wide open. He left his feet. He had no reason to leave his feet, and that was his only mistake of the game. It loomed large, but I'm going to still shout him out because he's been balling week after week, and I think he's a riser in the wide receiver class. And also, let's talk about Jaden Reed, Michigan State. Drew mentioned him last week, and he had a game-winning TD against Wisconsin, 50-50 jump ball.
Hit the like button.
See, it's another guy.
Yeah, hit the like button. We talked about him. We talked about him. But last week he showed me body control. This week he showed me yards after the catch, know how to get open in zone coverages. He just knows how to find that soft spot. And he's a guy. He's 6 foot, 185, but he plays a lot bigger than his size. So he's a guy to watch. And who else we got, man? We got
a lot, bro.
Jacoby Windham.
Wyndham.
They moved him back. Wyndham. He started off as an edge for Michigan State, became on the radar, was penetrating, getting to the quarterback, and he asked the coach, man, allegedly, I'm not sure if it happened, but he was like, I need to go back to my natural position, linebacker, and he made plays. He had an interception, turned his head around. He had the game-ending forced fumble. He was all over the place. So he's a versatile guy. I could play edge. I could play linebacker. There's a guy for the Cowboys that's doing both in the league at a high level. He's not him because Wyndham got to work on that run game, get stronger. Like Micah Parsons, but he could be a guy that could work his way to that.
I think he made himself some money, definitely going back to linebacker, because now you've seen both of it on display specifically this year.
That's what he was telling Mel Tucker, like, bro, I'm trying to get my chicken.
Yeah, man, you holding
me back.
Trying
to get my chicken, man. I mean, I'm doing the thing for the team. You know what I'm saying? I got my hand in the ground for the team, but I need to be off the ball a little bit here, man. You know, very impressive that versatility of his. What do you have, Drew?
Let me talk about this guy real quick. Tank Bigsby blew up this past week. I think he had over 170 yards, something like that. It doesn't matter. Just give him the ball, bro. That's all you need to do against this Ole Miss. Just get him the football. And for whatever reason, every week they dilly it down. They get away from him. Even when the game is pulled away, he's a guy who can catch the ball out the backfield, make people miss. Like, he's showing you things that I didn't know he had, or I was like, can he do that? Because they're not allowing him to do it. And yeah, he can do it. So I don't think he'll go as high as he probably should. One, because he's playing the running back position, and two, because Auburn is the Keystone Cops, and they don't do what's best for them over there. But hopefully after this past week, even though in a loss, they figured that out. Yeah, let's talk about the two Minnesota prospects. And John Michael, his two first names, John Michael Schmitz, center, Minnesota. And I saw a tweet from Jordan Reed, and he was talking about how he was talking to scouts, and they were saying that he's like a third or fourth round pick. Yeah, I don't think that's true, bro. I think
You're not
somebody's
buying
lying,
it,
bro. No, somebody's lying, bro. That's a bunch of
that's a smoke screen, huh?
Yeah, that's trash.
That's a smoke
bro.
screen.
Absolute trash, bro.
Yeah,
this guy was incredible, absolutely outstanding, incredible. Anything and everything that you want from the center position, he's going to give it to you. Get out on the second level, be able to double and peel off and find a guy. He's in the middle of blocking a guy with his head being pushed back, and he's looking to his left, to his right to find the next free guy because he does have control of his guy.
Still
when I tell you, just looking for work. He reminds me of Quentin Nelson at the center position, man. That's what I'm gonna say right now.
When you said that in the pre-production meeting, I was like, "Yo, hyperbole."
Big praise.
I'm
praise.
Just telling you, bro. I mean, the issue that you wouldn't like with him, if I'm not mistaken, he's a 6-year senior. So the age thing is a problem. At that position, so that may be an issue. And then the other Minnesota guy, Mohamed Ibrahim, baller. I'm gonna say it one more time.
Didn't you say you got to move him up? You got to move him up.
Why you got to move him up, bro?
He's in my top 5.
Why, bro? Why?
I had to confirm. Again. I seen him.
Check the boxes, B.
I seen him. I had it, bro. It's a physical. He just has the vision. We talk about vision all the time.
Yeah.
This guy has it.
Yeah, he got it. It's the stuff that you can't quantify.
Right.
It's the stuff that you can't quantify. You can see it. Maybe not the untrained eye, but you can see it, right? But it's very difficult to quantify that vision. No, definitely. Let me ask you a question about John Michael, our center from Minnesota. Let me put things in perspective for me, our audience here. By the way, this is the second half draft show brought to you by Couch Potato General Manager. Please like and comment. Subscribe to the channel. Tyler Linderbaum or John Michael Schmitz?
Michael Schmitz.
You on board with that, Headley? Or
so
you reserve
judgment? What I've seen so far, Michael Smith. But I have to see more. I want to see more consistency. Tape, I'm definitely going to be plugging in every week. I want to see more. But for right now, that one game against who they played again? This game this year.
It was
Illinois.
Whoever
they played. Illinois. Oh, yeah,
it was Illinois.
Muhammad.
Yeah.
Illinois. Yeah.
It was one of them orange teams, bro.
Yeah, the orange teams. But yeah,
okay.
Definitely. I got him over Linderbaum right now.
That's high praise, and that's certainly. I don't know if it's because I think it's definitely a smokescreen. I'm anticipating smokescreen here. You know what I mean? For him to be a late day 2, early day 3 pick, regardless of his age, I think early day 2 probably at the latest. If he's as talented as Tyler Linderbaum or better than Tyler Linderbaum, I can't imagine him falling that far. It doesn't make sense to me. So. All right. I believe that covers our honorable mentions. Drew, our HBCU prospects of note.
Yeah, from the SWAC, we got Alabama A&M Dre Sean Terry. He victory against victory against Arkansas Pine Bluff, APB. That's what they call them.
Yes, that's what they call them.
I wanted to throw it in there because I seen it in there. He had 14 tackles and he had an interception. He balled. For the MEAC, we got Howard University junior defensive back Kenny Gallup Jr. This man has 16 tackles, bro. 16. I don't know that you want your defensive back having 16 tackles. That may say something about your defense not being good, or that may say something about him being where he's supposed to be, always making plays.
Always making plays. That's a good place to be, is always making plays. Now that we've covered our HBCU prospects of note, we're gonna go before we get to our preview, which will be more of a rapid fire variety. I'd like to cover the midpoint all team, or by midpoint I said midseason, all-team risers, as reported by Jim Nagy of the Reese's Senior Bowl. So these are prospects that ultimately have been among the Senior Bowl watch that have increased their draft stock by at least 2 rounds. I think I had that right, Drew.
Yeah, you got it.
We're going to cover the offense. Let's focus on the offense and talk about some of the names of these risers. So, of course, we've talked about Hendon Hooker ad nauseum. I don't know that we need to really go into any further detail here. Zay Flowers, Tyler Steen, Chase Brown, Jonathan Mingo, Alec Forsythe, all guys that we've discussed here on the second half draft show. Drew Headley, let's grab a couple of these guys and talk about them.
Well, I can talk about the Gator real quick since he's a lone Gator on there, and Osiris Torrance, who's a transfer from Louisiana, came from there with Billy Napier, and he's a guy who's actually played all over the offensive line outside of, I think, center, but I think his guard is the home spot for him. Power player, and has nice movement. Obviously, if he's playing different positions all over the offensive line, it means obviously he can move well. I like Alex Forsythe as well. I think he's a center for the Oregon. Again, pivot position, moves very, very well. Double teams, gets to the second level. Pulling. And he's a really good and easy mover. Headley talked about Darnell Wright earlier. We talked about Hendon Hooker. I don't know if we need to rehash that. Right. I know Headley likes the Purdue wide receiver in Charlie. What's his name? You pulled it down.
Charlie Jones.
Charlie Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know Headley likes him, and he was doing. I mean, he's done work pretty much every week, I think, except for the week. I think it was last week. He was locked down a little bit, but that's a guy that I like. He creates separation. He'll make tough catches. So that's a guy I'm going to continue to watch because I want to see more of what he is. If he's a guy who can continue to play outside, or if it's a guy that we need to slide inside.
Yeah, I talk about the offensive playmakers. Drew touched on some of those offensive linemen. Zay Flowers, big play Zay. Always just get the ball in his hands. He's kind of like a running back playing wide receiver. Kind of like in a Debo Samuels vein. Not Debo, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Charlie Jones and Jonathan Mingo is big play threats. They make big plays each and every week. They get by the defense, get past the defense. And Chase Brown, we mentioned him before, and he's a playmaker, and he has a lot of speed, a lot of acceleration. But what really stood out this week against Minnesota, I know who they play now, Minnesota against Illinois. What really stood out is he was a workhorse. Yeah. He was a workhorse. Did he have, what did he say, like 40-something?
41 carries.
41 carries.
41 carries? Yeah. You don't think, when you look at Chase Brown, you think about a guy that maybe just a scat back maybe, but you had 41 carries in the game. You can handle a workload. So definitely those 4 playmakers on the all-riser team.
All right. We'll continue to keep tabs on the Senior Bowl prospects and players among the watch list. Obviously, Couch Potato General Manager, we usually have a very strong representation at the Senior Bowl. I think it's the most important aspect outside of the medicals for rising seniors, right? Seniors that are entering the NFL draft. That week, the time that you get to spend with NFL personnel, being coached by NFL coaches, going out there and competing. It's not even so much about the game. The game is a nice, you can kind of put the cherry on top of the sundae, but certainly those practices and establishing those relationships and interviewing with the teams is incredibly important in terms of bolstering your draft stock. And I expect the likes of a Hendon Hooker to really be able to cement perhaps quarterback 3 by going to Mobile and shining. You know what I'm saying? Letting those player personnel officials get an opportunity to see and hear and get familiar with him, because of course there's a people aspect to this thing as well. It's not just necessarily what happens between the lines, although that may be the most important thing. But as you can see what's happening in Denver, that is also part of the equation, particularly at the quarterback position. So going into week 8 here, man. Going into week 8 here, we have a handful of matchups that we want to make sure that you guys are tuning into, and we'll be covering next week here at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the second half draft show. Couch Potato General Manager YouTube channel. We got Syracuse and Clemson. Any matchups in that game that pique your interest, Headley, Drew?
I mean,
well, Syracuse, it's a Sean Tucker show over there, and they're going against that front seven. So that's definitely a matchup right there to watch. Matthew Bergeron, that's the guy
that's the
is
guy.
going to be really under the microscope. He's the one under the microscope this game against Clemson's front.
All right, UCLA at Oregon, going out west.
My guy Bobo going against Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback over there for Oregon. Receiver versus wide receiver versus cornerback, man. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, Gonzalez is a very good-looking prospect when you talk about the traits, height, speed, length at the cornerback position, especially when you see what a guy like Tariq Woolen is doing. That's what you're looking for, right? That's kind of the prototype. So really interested to see how he performs throughout the remainder of the season and certainly this weekend. Texas at Oklahoma State. Any inherent matchups noteworthy in this matchup?
Yeah, what's the receiver you like?
I'm gonna look at
Worthy.
Texas.
Yeah, is it Worthy?
Yeah, that's my guy.
Xavier Worthy.
Not Xavier Worthy. No.
Whittington.
Whittington. I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. Going against my guy, bro. You know my guy?
Boy, Muhammad.
Yeah, there you go. You got him. Number 7. Don't forget.
Jabbar?
Yeah, Jabbar. You know? Like Jafar in Aladdin, but Jabbar. You know what I'm saying?
Ole Miss at LSU.
I think we're talking about Headley's guy, number 23. You were talking about earlier. I don't know how to say his name, but I know you're talking about going against the running backs. Is it Zach Evans and Jackson Dart.
Baskerville,
Baskerville, yeah. That might be a
matchup. A lot of weapons. Ole Miss has a lot of weapons. Checking out Mingo, we just spoke about him.
Jay Ward.
I like Malik Heath over there. We see Jackson Dart. Yeah, we see with Jay Ward in coverage and stay out for those personal fouls.
Jay Ward in terms of the moment of truth in particular, right? Like you said,
correct.
Keeping his head, keeping his focus and emotions in check, but certainly, when the ball's in the air and it's an opportunity for you to make a play on it or at least find the football, is he doing those things? Northwestern at Maryland. I don't know that there's a particular matchup per se, but I think there are a pair of offensive tackles that we need to focus on. Who are those players, Headley?
You got the offensive tackle Jalen Duncan, left tackle from Maryland, against but not against each other. But Skorowski, the offensive tackle for Northwestern. Peter Skorowski.
Now has his star diminished a little bit?
Not according to PFF, man. They said he has the highest pass blocking grade in the last, decade or so.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Who have they played? My question would be, who has Northwestern played? That would be my question. I don't think they've gotten to the meat of their schedule for them to say. I mean, if it's true, it's true. It's fine.
The meat of the schedule?
What is it called? It's not the meat?
The heart. It's the heart.
It's the heart of the schedule?
Yeah, not the meat of the schedule. The heart.
You sure it's the heart?
Yeah, bro. I'm positive.
It's not the meat of the schedule, bro.
Not the meat of the schedule, bro.
I'm gonna have to Google this, bro. Get my guy Google on the line. I think you're wrong.
Google.
We ain't doing that right now. We'll do that later. Because if I'm wrong, I don't want anybody to know I'm wrong. Can't be wrong. For Maryland,
it could be the meat. It could be the meat in the heart.
It could be the meat in the heart. Listen, meat of the heart. Maybe that.
Can't be both.
For Maryland, real quick, you got Jakarion Bennett, number 2.
Come on.
The meat in the heart, bro. That's Jeffrey.
Dumb
right,
my
bro.
Bad, bro.
Now you good,
off
bro.
The rails. You off the rails.
Completely off the rails.
Have y'all seen that? I ain't watching it. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it, bro.
Man, don't watch it.
You good? You good?
Yeah, it's the meat in the heart, bro.
Jake said he's heard the meat of the schedule.
Thank you.
Jake co-signed it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it, man.
I suppose.
Heart. Get out of here, bro. Trash. Real quick for Maryland, Jakarion Bennett, number 2 cornerback. You also have receivers. I hope that Tua's brother can get it to these receivers and Rakeem Jarrett, Dante Demas, and Jacob Copeland. And have a Deshaun Jones as well.
We got Mississippi State at Alabama. I want to see how the Bama secondary bounces back. Helms in particular, but I'd like to see how they bounce back against that air raid or that modified air raid, because Mississippi State is actually running the football a lot more this season.
They are, and I want to see Will Rogers bounce back from this past game. I think this might have been his worst game of the season, to be honest with you. Outside of the LSU game, he had parts of the LSU game that weren't good, but and a lot of that had to do with just he didn't have the help there. So, but I'm expecting him to bounce back. But this is also Bama coming off of a loss, and they know that they can't really afford any more losses at this point because they're going to be playing Ole Miss here shortly, and that's a team that's probably keen for them. It's probably them and Alabama on that west side, I would imagine, if I'm thinking about it right. If they can beat Mississippi State to meet up with Tennessee again, because Georgia ain't going. Just put it out there.
Putting it out there?
I'm just put it out. I'm just trying to tell you.
I think Georgia ready to slip up, huh?
I think you can move the ball against the defense, bro. And Tennessee, no one's really stopped them all. No one stopped them all year. So,
well, they haven't. All right. Minnesota at Penn State, Hadley.
Muhammad Ibrahim, John Michael Smith. I want to see if they could. Let's see Penn State defense. Let's see how marshmallow they are. Michigan right a mud hole in them. So I think
it's pure exposure from here on out. Manny Diaz defenses. They came into that Michigan game as a highly ranked run defense, but I think it was all
smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors, man.
It was. They didn't hit the meat of their schedule yet.
Yeah, they hadn't hit the meat of their schedule just yet. Now that they're hitting the meat.
Got it.
No. Is that right?
Yeah.
Say it, bro. You gotta hit the meat, bro.
You gotta hit the meat.
you gotta hit the meat, man.
Pause.
You gotta hit the meat.
Somebody gonna clip that, bro. Gotta be careful.
All right, one more look ahead here. We have Kansas State at TCU. It's been interesting in the Big 12. It really has been interesting this year in the Big 12. You know, that isn't always the case. But as far as this matchup is concerned, any particular players or head-to-head matchups within this contest of note?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we can, there's some guys on each side of the ball, but I don't think there's any specific matchups that I can think of off the top of my head.
So who are those prospects?
Yeah, you watching Deuce Vaughn? Watching Deuce Vaughn and that offense against the TCU got a lot of defenders that I see every week. Millard Bradford, Hodges Thomason. It's a guy that splashed to me, Abe Kamara. We haven't really talked about him, but he brings hats to the party every time. And then Hodge is making a lot of plays in the middle of that TCU defense. So we'll see Deuce Vaughn, Adrian Martinez, and those guys, see if they could run wild in them or not.
And don't leave off Felix Aduke Azuma. Adukai. Y'all not gonna help me?
No, we're not gonna help you. The edge from Kansas State.
Number 91. Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Second Half Draft Show. Again, guys, we appreciate the participation.
Felix Ndikai.
The viewership.
I got to say it, bro. Let me one more go at it real quick. Felix Ndikai Azuma. I said it right.
Help Drew out. Please get in the comments. Help Drew out with the phonetic pronunciation of the young man's last name. Be sure to like the video, share it. We encourage you to share it, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'd love to have you come back, join us next week, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Second Half Draft Show. For Headley, Drew, this is Juice. We'll see you next time.